are you today? Well, just a quick update here on the recent green curtain in the Schumann resonance. But first, if you could subscribe to my channel and like the video, if it resonates with you, I would love that, and it really helps me. Thank you for doing that. The other thing is my human energy workshop will start again in the second or third week of October. I'm still nailing that down. And I'll have a page on my blog starting this Tuesday for it to link to. So I'll have that done by this Tuesday, and then you can let me know. If you can attend in person, it's 5 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays for 6 classes. If you can attend in person, we do one-on-one, and it's really it's sweet. It really focuses on what's going on for you, as the participant. And it's kind of exciting to work that way. And then if you cannot attend in person, but you want to just be able to download the information, you can now do that as well, because that's how I'm going to work it this time. Okay, so let's get into this. The biggest features on the chart today are the green curtain and a couple of movements that are impressive going on in the black charts. I'll show you that in a second. But what we have here is essentially like what I called a green curtain, because you see how much of the green background is present, and it's through all the hertz range on the chart, from 0 up at the top to 40 down at the bottom. So I'm gonna add some beginner stuff in this video in case you're new to the channel. So the hertz range of the Schumann is from 0 to 40 hertz, which actually mirrors human brainwaves. I look at this image as a map of human consciousness using both the science and an intuitive approach. So I combine spirit and science. So what you see here is you have one of these white rods going to 40 hertz. So there has just been such an incredible amount of vertical energy on the chart this year. There was vertical curtains starting between 9 and 10, and the big energies of the sun, coronal mass ejections, and then who knows what else, maybe strange energies from space, as Cliff High says, or perhaps cosmic energies as space observing system. Not space observing, it's SOS, suspicious observers. This chart's from space observing system, but suspicious observers focuses on the cosmic energies as well as the sun energies. But at any rate, the pattern that was starting between 9 and 10 a.m. appears broken. Now, I went into why you might be feeling effects on that on the previous video to this one. I'll link it below. It's about 30 minutes, but it's a great discussion, and I go into exactly what I think has been happening with the chart energies. So in this quick update, what I want to show you is that this green curtain, I think, affects our human experience. And why? It's because of the rise at the same time in qualities in green and yellow. And then we had a drop off in frequencies that I think was really interesting as well. When there's a sharp drop off, it seems like there's an expanded presence of energies on the chart, like a higher dimensional state. And normally you see that just with the white resonance, but we see it today with the green. And it's like the green takes us and itself to a higher level. And that actually shows in the frequencies, because you see the frequencies expanded during this time up to 25.6. And in my view, that takes courage. So courage shows in the chart for humanity, because I look at green as representing sort of the core of how are humans doing. And I explain why in my videos in early 2020 and through 2020 about why that is. But it's 25.2 seemed to be a very key and sensitive point in the frequencies for humanity during the whole pandemic situation. So going all the way up to 26.5 and experiencing that what that is like as a human being, it comes across to me as needing courage because of my previous observations. And this is within the normal range of frequencies. It's just that we haven't been at this high end very much in the last 2.5 to 3 years. So what happened here with the drop-off in frequencies that I mentioned was right here at 1400 hours when the green curtain wave started, where that energy just sort of came in or appeared or got created onto the chart. And you can see the drop-off in white and yellow correspondingly, also in red. It's really interesting. There was a drop-off in green as well, but it doesn't seem like, it seems like green was just kind of going along. And that kind of makes sense because the real effect of this wave of energy was a wave of green resonance that was prominent on the chart. It's interesting, the amplitude spiked. You can see that they went up to 40 in the white, and they were also high in yellow and red, and they were the white was about 2 times the amplitude of the green. And that's kind of a normal distribution for amplitude. So it was strong, 40 strong, but not as strong as it can get when amplitudes get very high. Now, here's the really interesting thing. So I want to say qualities in the red and white were pretty normal, but look what happens here. In yellow and green, you see a spike to 48 and a spike to 47. Now, so first of all, it's unusual for them to be at almost the same number at the same time. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is that it's very unusual to see these qualities in the yellow and green frequencies, in the yellow and green resonances. And I'm calling them by the color just to simply differentiate them. It's easier to say yellow and green than it is to say the frequency range of the resonance between 23.8 and 26.5, because technically that's actually the proper description. Okay, so essentially what happens here when the quality spikes, in layman's terms, this is how I would interpret that. The truth of what this is, of what this frequency represents for us as living human beings, we get closer to the truth of that. And so, for example, as a living human, to get closer to the essence and truth of who and what you are, in my view, is to touch the soul, like to get closer and closer to the soul that incarnated here as you, the God presence, essentially through the living human being. Now, even though in the red, it looks like there was a big spike up, this is relative. So you have to not only look at the size of the movements, but you have to look at the keys. The key is on the left and the right. So you see here that because the quality spiked from 5 to 15, so it still did have a big movement. And that is meaningful. The fact that it had a big 10-point movement is meaningful. But the thing is that it did not move as high as green or yellow. You can see green move from 5 to literally 48 and yellow from 4 to 47. So the real power here is in the qualities coming through, is in green and in yellow. And in my view, yellow is representative. This is anecdotal from experiential observations of the chart and human experience over time. Okay, so in my view, yellow represents the non-physical closest to the human being. That would be our thoughts, our emotions, our dreams, our hopes. It would be non-physical energy in the environment that we interact with. It could also be interdimensional, entities in the fourth dimension that we can't see with our eyes, but that exist in the spectrum of light in the fourth dimension that is not shown or differentiated on this chart, but I'm just explaining a non-physical potential effect close to human beings. Some non-physical beings that we can't see with our eyes can affect us energetically. That's like ghosts, okay, but that's a one way of describing that, but there's other influences as well. So what happens when we spike here okay, is that our courage rises. Why? Because when we feel and we deeply sense the truth of who we are, our courage rises. And that's what I wanted to talk about here just for a quick moment. It's like the energy comes from the heart of God. It's like the heart of God itself emanates through us as living human beings with a living soul connection and then expresses through us. So one question is, does this energy come from us? I mean, I said, there were effects potentially from the sun. I explain in my beginner playlist why that could be, because the solar energies do flex the electromagnetic field of the earth. And you can see that in the videos that I have there. But I also said strange energies from space, potentially, or cosmic energies. But here's the energy that is discounted by almost everyone else. And that is humanity itself. As I have said, and as I describe in my beginner playlist, each of us, 7.7 billion living human beings in physical bodies, emanates an EM field from the physical form and transmits with our brain between 0 and 40 hertz. So it is entirely possible that we are generating this energy.